Hi, my name's Richard.
I'm Rachel.
Welcome to Aspirations Dance video lessons. While the techniques that we're going to discuss in these videos will work for any level of dancer, we are going to be primarily looking at the casual dancer, the kind of person who isn't really interested in the pressures of competition work, but just really wants to get onto the dance floor and experience the fun and enjoyment of partner dancing. So let's get things started. So now we're going to take a look at what is arguably the most important step in swing dancing, and that is the starting step, the back step. Now the back step consists of two steps. So when I talk about this and I say back step, what I mean is one step back, one step in position. And that's going to give us our starting step. Now when we look at that, and we're only going to look at the basic work here, it can get very in-depth across all of our dancing, including this step. So even a basic step like this, we can find that there's lots of information as you progress with your dancing. But initially, all we're looking at is finding our starting foot. So for the purposes of this, it's going to be left foot for the leads, right foot for the follows. So we make sure that you can find that foot. It's out here in front of us here. We don't have any weight on it. We're going to locate where the back is, which is going to be behind us here, because we're not going to move away from each other. We're going to try to move with each other when we take this step. So with left foot for the leads, right for the follows, we'll take that first step back, and here we are in position. Now as we've transferred the weight onto this, the foot that's in front of us currently now has no weight on it. So to complete the step part of the back step, we transfer weight, and here we are in our position, ready to continue on. Now when we look at the interactivity of that move, what we're looking at, and we'll change position so we can talk about this. So when we look at the connectivity of this part here, so the inside edge of this arm, so as a lead, when I take the step backwards, what the follow is going to feel here is the movement that will also say, hey, let's step back together. Now when I transfer the weight, I use the hand on the back to move Rachel in position. So Rachel is waiting for my cue to move, and she's looking for the connection work, so now we're working together. So again, when we see that from here, you can see that Rachel doesn't move until I take the steps. So we're now getting that connection work going. Now if we do that well, now Rachel's going to respond to my connectivity and my movement, and we find ourselves in a situation where the follow doesn't really have to know what's coming next, because if they're working well with us as a lead, it's the lead's responsibility to develop and generate the movement and make sure we signal that really well to our partner. So leads, my advice is be confident. I don't mean rough, don't shove and throw your partner around, but be very confident with your movement, even if you're not sure what you're doing. Because if we are confident and we create a move and our follow moves with us and the music's playing and we're having fun, we're dancing. So we are giving you good suggestions, of course, for some basic movement, but we also say that if you start to come up with your own variations within this, don't fight it, enjoy it, but understand what you're doing. That's really key as well. So when we hit the back step, you can see that we get ourselves into a situation where we go a back step. Now once I've transferred weight from here, if I want to then get into the basic movement of the rock and roll or the single step, then what I'm looking to do here is take a step forwards with the foot that's ready to go. Now that happens to be my left foot, but if you've watched our transfer of weight video, you'll know that we don't need to remember that, because if I've transferred weight well here, then I only have one foot, and Rachel only has one foot that is ready to go. So if something is not working, check your transfer of weight. So when I take the next step, I'm going to take a step into position here, and Rachel moves with me because we're working together. Now we transferred our weight again from here, and then I use the supporting leg, which is this leg that has the weight, to move myself back. And that's going to reset us back into our base position. So you'll see that when I create the back step, I go back step. I'm now ready to take my step into the forward position, and then I make sure I've got a good transfer of weight. I've taken the whole body with that, and then I push off this foot to move me back into position. Now, some of those things don't always work out well when you first start out. One of the main culprits for things not working well is actually that forward step when the lead takes it. And what you can find sometimes is as you take the step, you don't move the body. So the foot moves into position and you find yourself not able to actually come, and you can see how easily I could move off that foot and start to make what could be considered errors. Later in our dancing life, we'll understand those to be variations and advanced work. But without the understanding of what's happening, then of course we would just look at those as errors. So making sure as a lead that we get that good confident movement, take our partner with us. What I don't want to be doing is dancing my basic and going, yeah, I've got it working out here, without taking, you can see Rachel's not moving anywhere because even though I'm doing everything in the correct order, I'm not really moving Rachel. So I want to make sure I get a good back step, a good step in, a good push off. So it would go a back step, 1, 2, a back step, 1, 2, a back step, 1, 2, a back step. And at any time, if I was to stop, Rachel would stop with me. And that's one of the key moments there from the follows perspective. It's very easy for you to fall into the trap of creating pattern-based dancing, where you remember the pattern and maybe your lead is a little hesitant, maybe they're not quite confident yet, and they don't move and you think, well, I need to move here. And then what we find is the follow then just goes off and they're dancing away. And now at this point, it's almost like we're not even needed. So the lead isn't needed at this point. This is just Rachel dancing herself through her steps without any interaction. If we both did this, now, as we're dancing the steps correctly, both of us, but we're not together, and now we move from a dance into a wrestling match. And we take all of the fun of dancing and we just screw it up and throw it away. So what you'll find is as you start to interact well with each other, you start to move together, that's really when the dance comes alive and you start to really allow yourself to get into it. So follows, especially if you're feeling a little bit more confident than your lead, try to work with your lead. Let them take the lead whilst you work with what you're feeling rather than with what you know should be happening. Because over time that's going to change. And if you're getting yourself into a situation where you're working through all the moves and you're deciding what happens, well, that's the point where you probably need to switch roles and you become the lead and your partner becomes the follow. So we'll take a little look at what happens with the timing of this now so that you can apply that to your dance. So from a timing perspective, we're going to look at 2 quick movements. So they're going to be on the beat, and then slower movements when we get into our steps 1, 2. So it would go quick, quick, slow, slow. Okay, so that's our timing for our single step rock and roll jive. The quicks happen on the beat, the slows happen over 2 beats. Now that does get a little bit technical, so if you're not interested in that, then don't worry about it. Shut the video off now, go and have a practice, fast forward through this bit, come on to some of the turn work a little bit later on. But if you are interested in what's happening with the timing, and especially for the musicians out there, it's the understanding that we're working over 6 beats. Now that can confuse people at the beginning when they start understanding that it's 4-beat music, but we're using up 6 beats. So it goes beat 1, beat 2, beats 3 and 4, beats 5 and 6. But if we were to count it like that whilst we're dancing, it would get very confusing for everybody, which is why we break it down in its simple form to quick, quick, slow, slow. Or as I like to say when I'm teaching, I will say back, step, 1, 2. And that way we can assess what's happening to every part of the move, and as we're calling it, we can check off everything that's happening. Am I doing a good back part? Am I transferring weight on the step? Am I taking a good step into 1? Am I transferring the weight well onto 2? And there we have the base timing for our rock and roll that we're going to use through all of our basic moves.
Just to add to that, follows, make sure that you're responding to the lead timing, even if you disagree with it. It can be very tempting to rush off, a little frustrating if perhaps your lead's going a little bit slower than you want them to. However, it will benefit you both in the long run if you can work together, stay in sync with one another, and enjoy being part of a team with your partner.
So remember the objectives on the dance floor, have fun while the music's playing, and, as Rachel said, work together as a team. Now, the other thing we can look at within our basic step is the rotation of the basic step as well. So as you're dancing now, you can start to eliminate that moment which happens very early, where it's almost like you draw your footprints on the floor and you go, well, I must step right here and back out again. And now as we dance, we can start to let the feet move around a little bit, and you can see we can get a little bit of good rotation, strong rotation, add our turn in, a little bit of separation, and spring them back in, and we can start to develop up to that. So when you start to feel a little bit more relaxed with the dance, just let that happen. Don't force it too much, because once you force it, of course, it's not going to feel or look natural, but let it happen when it starts to happen. We don't need to just be stuck in one place. But if you're happy just practicing, staying in position and working it from there, then go ahead and do that. Of course, it's your dance. You work at your pace and build yourself up at your level. Most importantly, enjoy and have fun with it. Thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed that. Do all the usual stuff. Give us feedback, like, subscribe, call us in the wee small hours with all your problems. If it's important to you, it's important to us. We just want to make sure you're having a great time out there on the dance floor.